Yo, it actually pisses me off that this weekend we were supposed to have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Reiner de Ritter as the headliner of UFC Vancouver. That was actually a sick fight and pretty much was the only intriguing hype fight on this card. It was a high ranked middleweight fight between Fluffy and Reiner de Ritter to see who could try to steal a title shot from Nasruddin Imavov. It was the second half of the middleweight tournament in which Imavov a couple weeks ago in Paris beat Kyle Baralio. But Dana White's like, listen, out of these four guys, whoever is going to put on the most great performance could get that next title shot versus Hamza, and that's what this weekend was going to be. But Fluffy Hernandez had to pull out due to injury, so instead Brendan Allen is stepping in to take on Reiner de Ritter. Brendan Allen, kind of a good middle tier middleweight, but just kind of mediocre when it comes to how his career's played out and his personality, just the entire thing about him as a fighter is just mediocre to me. And he steps in here though to save the main event. Reiner de Ritter is just like, okay, I'm game. But with a matchup like this, beating Brendan Allen, I don't think should warrant de Ritter to immediately get his title shot. Sure, he done enough, but it was really the matchup where if he beat Fluffy, then he would get the title shot. And if it was Fluffy, I think that Fluffy was going to beat Reiner de Ritter. But before we get really more into that main fight, let's just quickly overlook the card. I feel like this one's not going to be too long, but you have Azamat Bekoya versus Yusri Belaguri. Azamat Bekoya has had a good start in his UFC run. Big guy for middleweight. So that's a good one. Got Kyle Prepperlick versus Drew Dober, a bunch of NPC type guys. Haesung Park is stepping back into the octagon after taking a short notice fight versus Tatsuto Taira. He's going to be taking on Bruno Silva, who's still ranked number 14 at flyweight, which is honestly absurd. Like, how is he still ranked? And then Charles Jourdain is taking on Davy Grant in the featured prelims. Charles Jourdain, crazy tats. Yeah, and Davy Grant. You step into the main card, you got Matt Frevola versus Kyle Nelson. I mean, this card is really weak. If I'm being like honest, I think we could all agree this card's very weak. There was nothing on this, like, okay, Cody Gibson versus this guy's from China. Manon Fiorot is coming off a title shot versus Valentina Shevchenko, ranked number 2 in women's flyweight, taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius. I expect Manon Fiorot to bounce back and send this person back. Marlon Vera, been a very long time since we've seen Marlon Chito Vera fight. He, in his last 2 fights, I believe it was first losing to Davison Figueiredo, and before that was his title shot loss to Sean O'Malley. So Sean O'Malley, UFC kind of gave him that one, giving him the rematch with Vera. That was his only title defense. Hasn't aged so well. But yeah, Chito Vera's been around, has hung with some of the best in this division, but has also lost. Either way, complete thug and gangster. One of the most gangster videos I've ever seen was him pulling out a shotgun on a guy trying to rob him in his garage. And he's taking on Eamon Zahabi, who is coming off a good performance versus Jose Aldo. Basically sent Jose Aldo to retirement. And I really don't like Eamon Zahabi. I really just don't. I don't know what it is about him. He just seems so flat as a fighter. But I still feel like he's going to pick up the win. Chito Vera, I feel like, is just on a slow decline in his career. It's going to be hopefully a good scrap. And it wasn't even such an impressive performance by Zahabi. But I'm thinking that Eamon Zahabi is going to beat Marlon Vera. In the co-main event, you got Kevin Holland stepping in again after, like, he's fighting every 2 months. He's trying to set the record for most fights in a year, win or lose. He had a really good stretch in this year. He started in January with a loss to Reiner de Ritter at the top, who's on the top of this card. Got finished. Before that, he was coming off the rib injury versus Roman Dolidze. He steps in versus Gunnar Nelson in March, gets the win there. in which he went back down to welterweight. He was losing at middleweight, so he went back down to welterweight, took on Gunnar Nelson, beat him, took on Vicente Luque, was tagging him up in that first round, and then submitted him in the second round with one of Holland's signature chokes. Then he goes at UFC 318 to take on Daniel Rodriguez, D-Rod, and there were multiple moments where Kevin Holland really could have won that fight, but it was such a back and forth. It was such a really entertaining fight, but such a goofy fight. Like, both guys had such low IQ in terms of how they could finish the other person. It was just like they were both gassed and exhausted, but like they kept on just winging, swinging, having these crazy scrambles. It was a very back and forth fight that ultimately Kevin Holland lost. But of course, here he is returning again, 2 months, whatever, how much time it has been later. I'm sure we could expect him to try and get on a card before the end of this year too, either on a fight night or the pay-per-view in December. He's taking on Mike Malott, though, in this co-main event. Mike Malott, prominent Canadian fighter who this is his chance to become ranked. I actually just saw his brother, who's a hockey player, just got into a fight. But yeah, Mike Malott is running a little bit of a wave here. He's on a 2-fight winning streak right now versus Giles and Radke, so not the best opposition. Before that, he took the loss to Neil Magny. He's been pretty solid, as you can see in his UFC career, though. That was his only loss so far. This is a really big step up for Mike Malott versus a very seasoned, experienced UFC fighter like Kevin Holland, who has fought everyone in and in between. He's just fluctuated from divisions, fighting some of the division's best and top tier talent and some of the most like mediocre medium guys. And yeah, he just hops around, but he's been finding success at welterweight, and he's trying to just defend his ranking. We all know Kevin Holland's never going to be a champion. It's for pure entertainment because he has a good personality and a big mouth. He sometimes could get finishes with the armbar, and sometimes he does look good on the feet when he tags people up. This is a very winnable matchup for Kevin Holland. And I keep making the stupid decisions of picking Kevin Holland, but I mean, he really could have won the Rodriguez fight, and then he would have been on a 3-fight winning streak right now going into this fight. And then you got Mike Malott. I think Mike Malott is going to win, but I wouldn't mind seeing Kevin Holland just get a win. I'll always enjoy Kevin Holland getting a win, but I think Mike Malott will end up maybe tagging Kevin Holland somewhere. It's either that or Kevin Holland gets the finish, to be honest, but I don't care about how right I am on that. So yeah, Kevin Holland is the co-main event. And then the main event, Brendan Allen versus Reiner de Ridder. Brendan Allen coming off a good performance versus Marvin Vettori. That was after taking a few losses to some of middleweight's best top talent. That includes Nasruddin Imavov and Fluffy Hernandez. And then you have Reiner de Ridder, who has been undefeated in his UFC run so far. Started off beating the lower, like, middle talent, like Gerald Mearshart, Kevin Holland, finishes, then goes on, beats Bo Nickel with crazy, like, elbow and knee combination, finishes Bo Nickel. We're going to see how Bo Nickel does in a few weeks in MSG, but right now, he kind of, like, fraud-checked Bo Nickel. And then Reiner de Ridder went in Abu Dhabi and fought Robert Whittaker, one of the middleweight's best. One of the best, and he actually even got dropped in that fight one time by Robert Whittaker, who almost capitalized on the finish. But Reiner de Ridder, in the end, got the decision win. Couldn't finish Robert Whittaker, so that just, I mean, again, shows to the level that Robert Whittaker is. But Reiner de Ridder, he's very dangerous everywhere. He's dangerous with his grappling, his groundwork, striking, elbows. He uses elbows and knees a lot. He has great length. He's 6'4". So yeah, he has the reach advantage. He has the height advantage by 2 inches. But Brendan Allen, where's Brendan Allen really good? He's good, I guess, on the ground, on the grappling, not really known for any kind of striking game. So this is going to be another grappling wrestling test for Reiner de Ridder. And like I said, I think Fluffy Hernandez and then would have pulled off the win versus Reiner de Ridder. I mean, Fluffy just has been absolutely speed running, dominating, cardio machine. He's like the Marab middleweight. And ultimately, I'm just going to go with Reiner to Ritter to beat Brendan Allen. You can tell by my voice, I just have no like excitement about this weekend's card. Canada, just most Canada stuff that the UFC does is so flat. It's really just so flat. But even the main fight was so good, and now we have this instead. But is what it is. I mean, I'll be very surprised if Brendan Allen pulls off this win. Probably be the biggest win of his career. I don't know if you see who he's fought in the past. Right, he lost to Fluffy, lost to Imavov, Chris Curtis, Paul Craig, Bruno Silva. So before that, he was riding a big winning streak going into the Imavov fight. Okay, should be a good fight. And those are my thoughts on UFC Vancouver. Until next time.